Well, folks, welcome to the latest edition of Straight and Unfiltered. Gene Panasenko here, hopefully by now one of your most favorite hosts as far as business podcasting is concerned. We do strive to really bring the best talent, the most outstanding business people, business owners, entrepreneurs, athletes, CPAs, attorneys, really the people that share the pearls of wisdom and really a wealth of information to really help you in your business ventures, in your life, inspire you to get to the better and higher levels. So I appreciate all the new subscriptions. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe button. And again, please do keep spreading the word with your friends, your networks. That's how we can benefit more and more people. Well, we're fortunate to have an outstanding guest today. And I know that, again, all the talents, that we bring here, they're top notch, but we truly have a remarkable athlete, a great businessman, entrepreneur, published author, founder of several businesses, including but not limited to Empower Mastery, also a network of martial arts centers with multiple locations. A great athlete, marathon runner, winner of multiple competitions, including but not limited a national one. It was back in 2014. So it was a national competition, mountain bike. So national champion, Mr. Paul Melella, welcome to the channel.
Thank you, Gene. Honored to be here. I'm very humbled. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Grateful to be here.
Paul, God bless you, man. Honest to God, it's a pleasure. It's an honor having somebody of your level. It's a humbling experience for me personally, just getting a guest like yourself, obviously with great accomplishments in multiple fields. A lot of people, they kind of like one trick pony, which is, God bless them. Hopefully they're doing well and bring value to everybody who is benefiting from what they're offering in terms of products and services. But you really are such a multifaceted individual, again, professional athlete, who brought so many great things to the people around you. So let's take a step back. Let's take our audience back to your childhood. Were you born like a Bruce Lee aficionado? You were always into martial arts, or how did you get involved into martial arts disciplines?
I was 7 years old. I wasn't the biggest kid growing up. I wasn't really that athletic back then. I would consider myself not really confident. I had a childhood bully. His name was Tommy Gonzalez.
Is he still around?
Oh yeah, I'll have a look. My story gets better. He picked on me every day. And finally, my parents put me in martial arts to develop confidence and a little bit more self-defense. And one day we're walking off the bus on my parents' road, Cherry Lane in Putnam Valley, New York. And he tried to pick a fight with me. I was training secretly in the art of Taekwondo for about 6 to 8 months. No one knew, and he tried to pick a fight. I finally had the confidence to stand up to him. I ended up going to a little martial arts stance. He started laughing at me. He went to attack. I faked low, went high. I kicked him in his nose, got a bloody nose, and I ran as hell as fast as I possibly could. But he never picked on me ever again. And funny story, Gene, is that after that day, I finally stood up to him. Yeah. We became childhood best friends. I was his best man in his wedding.
Are you serious?
And a funnier story, I was his best man in his second wedding. So,
my God.
I thank him every day, because if he didn't pick on me back in 1982, I would have never been taking martial arts. It would never have led me down to this path.
How funny is that? So that's a catalyst. A lot of times, look, I also have done my fair share of martial arts, not nearly to your professional level, obviously, but the same thing, when I was growing a kid, and you don't want to spread the word, you kind of like keep it as your secret weapon. So the same thing, I was training for almost a year before I actually had to utilize some of the moves and tricks, that they trained me in, and that's how the word broke out, But yeah, it's extremely helpful, and I'm sure you'll agree, because again, you do it as a professional, not just for your personal benefit, but as a founder of the martial arts centers with multiple locations. You really train the younger generation, and I'm sure it resonates so much with their parents when they bring their kids. They understand it's not just about keeping them safe, because the skills you teach them, you train them in, they can and they should be utilized at some point when it becomes critically important, really to use them when you cannot avoid any kind of confrontation. But also it really allows for the overall development and confidence and passion about anything else. So I would like you to speak about how you actually, evolved from, again, taking those martial arts classes for yourself to really getting to the level where you're at right now. I know you came back recently from South Korea, right? Getting your certification in the seventh degree in Taekwondo, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about the evolution of how you have been growing to that level.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
The primary focus for my parents back then were for me to really develop self-confidence and self-defense. I fell in love with the sport of Taekwondo, and then I started getting heavily into competition,
Yeah.
and that was a really big thing. I say my original teacher back then, if you ever watched the Karate Kid series or the
Yeah,
movies,
yeah. Look, I mean, we all grew up watching that stuff. Yeah, it's
well,
fascinating.
now it's kind of coming back around with the Cobra Kai Netflix series, but the character John Kreese, which was the Cobra Kai instructor, that was my original teacher. I swear, I would go back. He was a 6'2" heavyweight national champion. He was a big Irish man. His name was Master Robert Connolly, and basically his focus was to teach us how to fight, and that would be the main primary focus. And as I started training and competing myself, eventually fast forwarding where I had an opportunity to work for him. And then
Right.
by the time I was 18, I was managing a location for him. And by the time I was 21, I actually had an opportunity of buying one of his locations from him. So this is it was in the year of either 95 or 96 is when I had that opportunity to purchase that business, right? And then everything was going well, except I was drawing my energy from my passion, my love for Taekwondo. But now I'm a teacher and I'm a business owner, right?
Right.
And so everyone would say to me, hey, why do you want to be a martial art instructor? Why don't you go back to college, get your degree, at least you have a steady paycheck? But something inside me wanted to do martial arts full time. The reason why is because it impacted my life so much. And it wasn't just about the physical aspects of Taekwondo, but that focus, that determination, that ability to overcome adversity, the discipline, all these qualities and characteristics, I believe, were instilled in me, even though my original teacher was focusing just on being a good fighter. And what ended up happening was a couple things ended up happening. Even though my passion was to help kids not get bullied like myself through martial arts, I was teaching them the way I was taught. I was teaching them how to fight and be fighters. But there was still other values that were not being instilled in my program that weren't taught through my teacher. And that's when I was introduced to several things. One is a bunch of my mentors gave me a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
I love that book. It's amazing how many guests on this podcast, and many years prior to my launching this YouTube channel, not only have I read the Napoleon Hill's books, Think and Grow Rich obviously is the most famous, but obviously you should know that he has multiple fascinating books. But it just amazes me how the people from different backgrounds, even from different countries, they studied, right and left Napoleon Hill's books in translation, applying those absolutely incredible ideas to their personal and business development, and how they became so much more successful in pretty much anything they have tried to accomplish. I mean, so every time when I come across anyone who is Napoleon Hill's devotee aficionado, I'm like, hey, amen to that, man. Because we went with that
the self-improvement Bible, right? For lack of a better word.
Yeah, the school of life, and that's amazing. Yeah.
So that book changed my life, and a couple things happened in that about 25, 26 years ago. I became addicted to personal growth.
Yeah.
I literally traveled around the world. I spent probably $300,000-$400,000 in personal development over these past 25 years. I studied some of the most influential leaders, coaches, people that talk peak performance. And a couple things ended up happening is I really worked on myself. That year I met my wife. So we're together for over 25 years, married.
Hey, that's an accomplishment by itself. We know
Well, within that year, right?
it's not easy. People can launch multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, but they fail in their personal life.
So and then a couple of things is, now my original teacher, he did pass away at a very young age. He just did not take care of his health. But besides my mom and my dad being my foundation, they're my original mentors and teachers. But I have a grandmaster that still I work with today. His name is Grandmaster Byung-Min Kim. He's my main mentor in life as far as the spiritual, martial arts, just overall human being. And when I started training with Grandmaster Kim, started getting into personal development, my whole life changed. My business went from, buying a business from my original teacher that was going under because he was selling it because it wasn't doing well, wasn't profitable. I built that business to be, one of the top 10 martial arts schools in the country. I was fortunate enough to partner up and meet with other like-minded humans, and this evolution of what we were doing within our martial arts schools and changing people's lives. It wasn't just teaching martial arts. I was taking all that personal development curriculum and integrating it into our martial art culture. And that's when my business started growing. I started working on myself. I started working on my relationship at the time with my girlfriend, who then became my fiance and wife. And then my business grew. And then from there, our organization grew. And I was fortunate enough to partner up with one of my co-authors and one of my best friend is my best friend through Empowered Mastery and United Martial Arts Centers is Grandmaster Chris Burlow. We actually had the opportunity of buying, he grew his martial art organization, and we came together with another colleague, and we formulated United Martial Arts Centers. Now I'm grateful that I own multiple commercial real estate buildings that house our martial art businesses. And then I just wanted to expand this vision. I wanted to expand helping more people. And that's when my partner Chris and I partnered up with two other people that were 13, 14 years our senior, very successful financial advisors, retired millionaires. We formulated Empowered Mastery. We co-authored this book, You Have Infinite Power. Those two gentlemen, Rick Wallman and Nick Palumbo, who are still really good friends with us still today, retired. They retired and kind of left Empowered Mastery to my partner Chris and I, and we're now have the opportunity of coaching and working with financial advisors, entrepreneurs that would have never walked into our martial arts schools, and teaching them the mindset training with a martial art philosophy with our 25 years of business experience and life values that we get. And now we're integrating it and helping more men and women that are the business professionals and entrepreneurs that want to create what we call multidimensional success. So I'm sure you'd agree, Gene, a lot of people that make a ton of money, but then they're overweight or they're divorced or they don't see their kids.
That was the point I was trying to make, because again, beauty is an eyes of the beholder. And we all can agree to the fact that, hey, what is the definition of success? And different people, they have completely different definitions. To some people, as you pointed, Paul, it's having, 6 or 7 figures in a bank account. But what price do they get there for? It's sacrificing not just the physical health, as you said, they can be, tens of pounds overweight, but also the mental fitness, which is just not there. They're stressed. They're absolutely aggravated. They can have, Lamborghini and Bentley on their parkway, but it definitely does not make them happy. I mean, their personal relationship is in shambles, if there's any kind of personal relationship left at that point, because they're working like dogs, spending 75, 80 hours a week. So again, the healthy balance between physical and mental fitness, in my opinion, again, is critically important. And again, it's evolution. It's not something that everybody is born with, but you really need to go through all those motions and emotions to realize that, hey, you need to maintain that mental and physical balance in your life, because otherwise, if you're losing your relationship, if you sacrifice your family, the kids, they don't know anything about yourself except for the fact that you show up, like once a week, on the weekends and take them out to whatever, some park, or you fly them into Disney for a few days, but then again, you disappear for days and weeks. It cannot make up for the missed time and relationships. So it's critically important that somebody like yourself, where you actually went through those emotions yourself, you went through blood, so to speak, sweat and tears, and in your line of business where the people do get hurt physically, in martial arts, it is more applicable probably than in any other line of business short of military and law enforcement folks. God bless them, and kudos to them all. You travel the world, which I find absolutely to be absolutely admirable. Myself, having grown up in Ukraine, I had a chance to see the world, and after I came to the US, and once you start getting to a certain level, you start traveling and appreciating things that the people throughout the world, they can't, because they don't have the freedoms, they don't have the financial means to do that. You actually travel the world. So when somebody like yourself approaches a professional like myself looking to offer your advice and expertise, I would be obviously a lot more inclined to listen to you and ultimately embrace your advice than somebody that's basically is fresh, fresh out of college, wet behind the ears. They're still living with mom and daddy in the basement, and you meet them at the Chamber of Commerce, or whatever networking event. Well, here's my business card. I'm a business coach. Well, that sounds great. What have you actually done to get to that level? And let me hear about the stripes, if you have any, that you earned to advise somebody, like myself. But you and your partners, you guys, you definitely got it to a science, and combined, it's not 25 years, it's probably over a century of combined experience when you consider yourself.
Our two other partners, Rick and Nick,
Yeah.
who are the co-authors, they just both turned 60. We had dinner with them this past week. So I'm still in my 40s, Gene. I'll be 47 in a couple of weeks.
And you look excellent. God bless you. Hey, you can't win the national title, like you have done more than once, obviously, by not being in the best physical and mental shape. But God bless you. Just keep it going, because you know that you look great, and that alone is an inspiration and motivation to a lot of probably potential clients of yours. I know that I would have zero respect for somebody which is totally out of shape, and he's like, hey, I can bring out. It's ridiculous. What can you show me? I mean, look at yourself in the mirror, dude. But obviously you walk the walk, you talk the talk, and again, you practice what you preach to your audience. From the youngsters, which are your clients at those United Martial Arts Centers. Throughout the. Is it tri-state area only, or you guys are outside?
Yeah, our locations are mostly in New York. We're in Westchester, Putnam, Dutchess.
Right, so it's a New York metro area. Yeah, you're trying to keep it close to the vast. I mean, you don't want to spread it.
No, all our locations we are demographically, like, we feed off each location.
Of course,
Right.
I mean that's how you build the infrastructure. I mean, I hope and pray that you guys are going to go national at some point, but at the same time, you need to be very careful. We've heard about a lot of success stories that ended up being a disaster stories, because the people would spread the people would spread their businesses way too fast. They would be opening multiple locations without regard to expenses, the overall infrastructure, the overhead, the personnel, and that's would be killing their businesses ultimately, as opposed to helping expansion. So yeah, you definitely.
Everyone that works for us is what we call homegrown. They've been as far as the martial art organization, they're all homegrown, that we've trained and guided them since kids, and now they're managing, and they're either owners or part owners in a lot of our locations. So like, that's kind of like our model that we've been doing. As far as my Empowered Mastery coaching clients, they're mostly business owners. They're in sales. I have real estate professionals. We've got a lot into the financial advisor world, because my old co-author and partner, Nick Palumbo, was a very successful financial advisor. And he just literally is like in the process of retiring now, right? So we had two co-authors, and my old partners are retired fully they have other businesses and obviously generating residual income. But as far as like day-to-day stuff, they're now retired, but we still are in their world. But we kind of got into that financial advisory mindset, because for the past 10, 12 years, I've been coaching advisors whether they're new in the business, or a lot of the clients now I have are probably around my age or a little bit younger, and they want to shift their mindset on production, right? Because we know we're all wired a certain way mentally, right? So I always say that there's an internal thermostat that we're all programmed for. We're all programmed for a certain weight. We're all programmed for a certain level of income or production. And until you go into your internal thermostat and you shift what we call in our book like a paradigm breakthrough, then it's hard for people. They stay status quo where they are, right? So we always figure out what do clients want. That's number one. And then once they know what they want, we figure out how they're thinking around that outcome or result. And there's a lot of what we call paralyzing paradigms or paralyzing beliefs that hold people back, right? So my grandmaster says, as you get older, you should be getting better. You have more time to train. Where a lot of people go, oh, I'm 40, it's all downhill after here. Oh, I'm 50, I can't do this. Or I'm too old, or I'm too young. It's all these voices in our head are holding most humans back from achieving their greatness.
I hope one of your hearers, Paul, has been Jack LaLanne. I know that I had their membership, for decades by now. And one of the great things that I mentioned as far as attributing my overall health, physical and mental, is really being a lifelong member of their gyms. But again, Jack LaLanne has been gone now for a few years, but he was in his 80s, remember, and he was pulling, towing those barges across the San Francisco Bay. It's amazing. It's just beyond me. So it really defies any kind of common sense for most of the people, but he's a perfect example that you set up your goal, you wire up your mind to get to that goal, and you just keep pushing, breaking the barriers, and everything, from your passion to your focus to your discipline to your dedication will be fueling that action to get where you're trying to be. So it's pretty.
And it's not just one area. It's how you do one thing is probably how you do most things, right? How are you living up? How are you leveling up? How are you leveling up in your business and production? How are you leveling up in your fitness, right? And how are you leveling up in your relationships? And how are you leveling up as a parent? Or how are you leveling up to give back? So I would say that everyone's in a different season of their life and their career, right? Yeah. So I would say, all right, well, I'm in my mid to late 40s. I've been in business for 25, 26 years. I'm in my summer seasons of my life, right? Or the end tail of the summer seasons, right? My partner, Chris, all 5 of his children are 21 and older. Like, they're out of the house. Right. He just came back from Ecuador and he was hiking, or Guatemala, one of these live volcanoes. Like every year he travels and does like extreme hiking, Himalayas, Africa, so he's crazy.
Fascinating trips that, again, a lot of 20 and 30-year-olds would not endeavor because of the dangers, because of the, look, I mean, when you're climbing 30,000 feet up there, the lack of oxygen, you can survive only so long in a tank of oxygen behind, so it's
that's his mindset. And he's able to do that because his kids are grown up and his businesses are all self-managing. And then he has time to raise $110,000 for leukemia, right? So he wins Man of the Year. So he can focus on giving back to charity, doing these extreme things, working on his health, because his kids are grown up and his businesses are self-managing, where my kids are still teenagers. So I'm still focusing on what I call my core 4 areas, which is my health, my relationships with my wife, my kids, and my businesses. Right. So those are my core 4. Majority of my focus and attention and how I time block my day is related to those 4 things. But not to say that I neglect giving back to charity, but I will focus a little bit on that as well. But what are someone's core 4 areas, and how are they thinking about leveling up and increasing those things in their life, right? And so everyone's got a different definition of success, right? You probably do, I do. I'm sure it evolves as we have more life experience. If you ask my dad, what's success? He goes, family. Family will be success, right? Some of my coaching clients, it's just money, production, but if you're making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year, and you're 40 pounds overweight and you're divorced and you don't see your 3 kids.
Meaningless, for all we know. He can drop the heart attack tomorrow. Yeah,
I
you
don't think
can
you're
take it with
successful,
you. So
right?
true.
So it's I believe you have to have that success multi areas. And I also believe that if you have in our book we call it a worthy ideals, like why you do what you do, what's your legacy. Like I know when I'm long gone, I'm going to be leaving things that are going to still be impacting people when Paul Melella is off, is no longer in this planet, whether it's through books, video content, some type of things that still create value and impact the world, or charities that we create. I want to leave a legacy. So it's in my world
Your
is
students, because Paul, by now between you and your partners, you guys, you contributed to raising probably a generation of martial arts students that became very successful, professionals, entrepreneurs, business people, just great human beings and better citizens. So that's something that, again, will stay with you in addition to your wonderful kids,
that's my wish. Because it's
grandkids.
not that hard to be a good person, right? It's not that hard.
Well, Paul,
So
it is just so many things, that really make perfect business and common sense to pretty much most of the people. But unfortunately, again, millions and unfortunately, tens of millions of people in this country alone, they just don't get it. Everybody wants to enjoy that glitz, and wonderful lifestyle, beautiful house and vacation home and great trips for the family, from skiing to, Caribbean paradises and what have you. But again, very few people are willing to make that contribution of, again, your effort, your discipline. I mean, the whole package, and that's unfortunate. So they just
everyone's disciplined, Gene. Everyone's disciplined. Everyone's got habits. So how I say is, I know people that are 350 pounds and they didn't just wake up. Like they didn't wake up out of bed and go, oh my God, I'm obese. No,
it took
man,
them
you worked
years,
really
probably
hard to get
decades to
fat,
get to that. Yeah.
right? You worked really hard to get fat. You worked really hard to lose your business. You worked really hard to get divorced. You worked really hard to ignore your kids and not have that relationship. So it's like discipline. Everyone's disciplined. Everyone is where you put in your focus. Here, my success habits, I'm drinking water all day long. Some people drink soda and coffee. Not that coffee's bad. I'm just saying, like, what are your habits? People are waking up late. I wake up at 5. I wake up, I meditate, I stretch, I read, I have tea with my kids. Then I go work out. Then I start my day, right? I have to make sure I get my mind right so I can perform in business, so I can perform when I get home and still have energy for my wife and kids. And so that has to be someone's intention. How are they going to live intentionally? But they don't see all the effort and energy that goes in, right? So in business, they might see where you are now after X amount of years in business. They don't see what it took you to get where you are, right? So nowadays, most people just think that they're entitled to do it. I think it's bullshit. Excuse my French. I hope that's okay.
I totally agree with you. I mean,
You gotta put the time in.
You paid
right?
no dues. You made no sacrifices. How do you expect that stuff to just fall from nowhere onto your lap?
Doesn't
I
happen.
mean, the fact.
Napoleon Hill writes about it, Gene, and Think and Grow Rich. She goes, "There's no such thing as something for nothing. What's your goal outcome? Well, what are you going to give in return? Right? There's that law of compensation. Right? You have to be able to provide value, put the work in. It just doesn't happen by itself. You can't just wish it. Right? You should know what you want specifically, have that in your head, a clear vision, know your outcome. Half people I speak to, they don't even know what they want. Half of them, they know what they don't want. They don't know, but they have to focus on what they want, specifically have a clear vision.
But
right?
Don't you find it amazing, Paul, that again, it's like when you don't know what your destination is, how do you plan on getting there? No GPS is going to help you, brother.
Exactly.
Unless you know exactly where you're trying to get. Once you know the destination, then you can work the ways of getting there this way, that way. But unfortunately, a lot of people, they just don't have that goal, that destination in their mind, and it's extremely hard, to get anywhere unless, again, they can sit with somebody like yourself and identify at least some general aspirations that they would like to have in life, and then you can guideline them, show them the guidelines, and coach them how to get there.
Absolutely. That's one of the first things I think I do with clients is I ask them, well, what do you want to see happen? Like, what do you want? And then I'll either get one type of human go, I really don't know. I'm like, well, that's the reason why you're not getting any results, because you don't know. Well, I don't want to be overweight. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to fail out of the business. I'm like, I didn't ask you what you didn't want. I asked you what you wanted. What do you want? I want to make more money. Oh yeah? And I give him $1. You just made more money. How much more money in production? How much more money in income do you want? Right? How much weight do you want to lose? What type of specific partner do you want to attract into your life? Where specifically would you like to live? Describe the house. Okay. And then once they know what it is that they want, now we have to identify how they're thinking about it. And they're either going to have negative thoughts or positive thoughts. And I usually say, is like, listen, you have at least 2 voices in your head that's talking to you. There's a negative voice that's telling you all the reasons why you can't do this, can't do that, hold you back, paralyze you, limit you. And then there's an empowering voice. That's why hence I'm a Star Wars geek. So I have Darth Vader and Master Yoda.
I love that.
Kind of like,
I'm sure it's going to resonate with a lot of audience.
Yeah. So like I know what the Darth Vader voice sounds like in my head.
Yeah.
I got at least 2 voices. I have more than 2 voices in my head. Right. What I do is I name all of them. I name my voices. I'm sure you studied NLP, right? Neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah.
So there's like strategies that I use, and one of I would say the techniques I teach clients is, what are all your thoughts that you have, negative or positive, around that outcome or goal? Call it, $1 million in production. Okay, great. Tell me all the thoughts that you're having. And now then they identify them, and then what I do is I ask them to identify voices that they have. Like I have a character called Easy Target Paul. He's 7 years old. He's bullied by that kid. No confidence. I got second best Paul, who's 12, 13. He's a fighter. He's a competitor, but he wins state championships. He always falls short of that national championship. Then I got wise guy Paul. He's a teenager, super, super skinny, always get made fun of because all his other friends in school were muscular and football players. And I was still short, so I just had to be a wise guy to like try to be tough, right? Because call people out. Like I can fight. I was just super skinny, right? But those are all limiting. Like if a little 7-year-old kid came in here and says, "You can't do this because of that, you're this," and I'm not gonna give that any credibility to that voice, that 7-year-old or that 12-year-old. But yet, most humans, when the voice yaps, they accept the voice, what it's saying to them. Right? But not me, because I tap into my Grandmaster Melella voice. I tap into Perfect Paul voice. I tap into my Coach Passion Paul voice. Those are more empowering voices, right? And those are the ones that I strengthen in my mind to overcome and overpower any limiting beliefs that I have. Because you know what? Even as a business owner, after 25 years, this past year during COVID, all my martial art business took a humongous hit. I was into what I call the dark side, Gene.
Many of my clients
this work in my head, but this technique, these techniques, I'd be mentally not tough.
I can totally relate to that, Paul, and thank you for bringing up that issue, because look, I mean, you're one of the most positive people out there. I can tell it, but at the same time, just like myself, being an extreme optimist, you're also an extreme realist. And it's unfortunate reality that the people like us, which advise businesses in different capacities, over the last 12, 13 months, I mean, we've been taking heavy damage, as far as the lockdowns. And I truly envy now our brethren and sisters living in a free part of the country, now almost half the United States, they're back to business, no mask mandates, and then business as usual. And I hope and pray that here in the New York metro area, we're going to see the same coming hopefully sooner than later, because obviously the countless number of businesses have been decimated. Those businesses who are still out there, I mean, they're literally hanging by the thread, praying that they can make it through the Memorial Day. The people who still are fortunate to have jobs, I mean, seeing the economic environment that we're going through, they're just paranoid about spending any money on business coaching, any kind of advisory services. So I'm just hoping and praying that we can get back to some kind of normalcy here in the New York metro area before any more damage is being done. But you made such a great and valid point. Hey, unless you had all the discipline and mental, fortitude to really keep you going, then a lot of people probably would just, throw in the towel. Hey, I can't take it any longer. It's just way too stressful. My business is taking heavy fire. I'm losing clients right and left. They're getting out of business because of those horrendous lockdowns, draconian policies by the local governments. But again, you kept pushing through, and God willing, again, you'll make it through more than just in one piece, but hopefully coming out better and stronger and more powerful, than you were before.
Well, I'm sure, Gene, anytime in your life experience, and I can attest to this, anytime I went through the shit in my life, anytime, right? There's always, when your mind's ready for it, there's opportunity all around you, as long as you're mentally ready and awakened to see the opportunity. And anytime I went through struggles in my life, ever, child, teenage, as a business owner, it kind of knocked me back. I stayed on my game. I surrounded myself with like-minded people, positive people. I'm so fortunate. I have, my mentor, Grandmaster Ken, my best friend, Chris Burlow, he's Mr. Optimistic. My wife, Gina, I got back into reading Think and Grow Rich every morning after I meditate. I'm in a martial art mastermind group, some of the biggest players in my industry across the country and also Canada. We all meet via Zoom,
right,
and talk about what we're going to do to overcome. These are multi-unit school owners. I'm in a real estate investor mastermind group. I'm in a health coaching network that masterminds. All I did is make sure I found like-minded people. I got back to my basics. And anytime I ever went through some challenges, what it did for me personally is it skyrocketed me to a whole nother level. Any muscle that has to get built, like I don't care if I was pushing myself as a mountain bike competitor or as a physique competitor, pushing myself with weights or trying to beat a sub 2.5 marathon, anytime you have to push to stretch your muscle in order for it to grow, right? That's the same exact thing with our mind and how most people play at a very comfortable level. You and I have to be used to getting uncomfortable, right? Getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, because the only way we're going to grow is if we expand, right? And we break through those barriers. So as a small business owner in the martial art and health field, yeah, we took a major hit, and I'm very transparent. I was losing over $150,000 a month, right? From March, April, May, June, July, leading into December. That might not be a lot of money for a lot of people. That's still,
it's an awful lot of money in my book, because many of my small business clients, they're just like yourself. Hey, a lot of times, and actually, $20,000, $25,000 per month will make or break their business, between the rent, between the payroll, the insurance expenses, whatever else is involved. So I totally relate to that. And again, I applaud you for, sticking to your guns and making through this devastating cycle that hopefully we'll never see again in our lifetime.
But I'll tell you, a lot of now on a different end, my health coaching business skyrocketed because people got the COVID 30 pounds plus. So that business that my wife and I actually started during COVID skyrocketed. My financial advisor clients through Empowered Mastery, they were doing they're having their best years yet, because now they're able to do Zoom meetings with their clients instead of traveling in and out of the city. They're consolidating their days. They're doing back-to-back appointments virtually. They streamline their process with clients. They found more time to wake up and to exercise and spend time with their family and to meditate and apply all the principles that we teach. And they had a clearer vision in head. Then some of them in the financial services, they also recommend like either annuities or like, stocks, investments, and life insurance policies. So that conversation of a whole life policy to somebody that's like scared of dying of COVID just opened up. So their production on whole life increased. Their production on AUM, assets under management, increased because people are like, oh, stocks are on sale. Let me buy something. Let me invest. So they did great, right? So actually my coaching company, Empowered Mastery, they were doing wonderful, right? So everyone had a different experience during this past year. But the big thing that we all said was, there's always opportunity in every challenge. Are you willing and open and awakened to see it? Where are they? And when you are, you're always going to find those opportunities, and you're going to hopefully take advantage to learn, grow, and expand in many aspects of your life. And I always ask clients, hey, all right, what went well this week? What went well in your business? What went well in your relationships or your personal, and what went well in your health? They got to be a good finder and see what's going
It's
good.
so
in your
true.
life.
All those aspects you're pointing out, Paul, they're all so connected. And there is a direct correlation between how well you're doing on all those fronts you just mentioned and how successful you're going to be overall in your business, in your personal life, and things of that nature. So it is true. It is so true. Yep.
So, that you got to always find out like what's working, what's not, how can I change? If you don't learn how to pivot and expand, the learners are going to be expanding to grow. The ones that stay status quo and comfortable, you can't play like that.
That's what happened to the dinosaurs. They just could not adapt, and they're gone. And I mean, I can't think of any better example. And fast forward millions of years to this day and age, you're seeing again so many businesses, they just absolutely refuse to adapt to the new environment. And I can relate it. When I became a financial advisor, it was a totally different line of business. It was transactional thing where you get on the phone, you're speaking about some stock, some investment. You're hoping to convince the client, to invest into that. You get paid by the commission, and then you move on. The people, they're educated because of what's out there and because of advisors like myself, where again, I spend a lot of time educating my clients, explaining to them, hey, this transaction is nothing more than just one transaction. How well it's going to fit into your overall life plan, because again, myself, just like yourself, we're holistic advisors. We're trying to really see how we can incorporate all the aspects of what we bring to the clients into the overall life plan of those clients, and that's how we bring the most value to them, and people see that value. And again, a lot of people that used to be doing very well in my line of business, and you said that you are teaching and coaching a lot of financial advisors, you can relate that it's very hard to see the people in the 50s and 60s in this kind of business who have refused to adapt to the new way of doing business and the new requirements and demands and needs of what the clients are looking for. So you either adapt and get on track, or you just fall behind, and you're left in the dust. So that's fascinating. And I attribute probably one of the major level and amount of success of yourself and your company to, again, that philosophy.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, Paul. So what's next in the plans? I mean, you have done so well on so many fronts. I mean, you're just a perfect example. Getting in a business at the age of 18, it's amazing where so many kids, they're just flipping burgers if they're doing any kind of work at all at that age, and you're becoming a manager of that facility, of that martial arts center, and then buying into the business, only a couple of years down the line, and then the evolution and the growth, really pivoting into multiple businesses, from martial arts to self-improvement, to coaching, corporate coaching, opening multitude of, martial arts centers, real estate. I understand you also own, between you and your partners, you own a chunk of real estate. So that's how you create that baby Berkshire Hathaway, if you will, holding company, where you're diversified and you become, if not immune, but at least you can weather the storm in substantially better position that many of your competition, or the companies that would want to think that they are a competition, but obviously they're not doing nearly as well as yourselves, who obviously put a lot more time and effort into developing that infrastructure that allows you to stay alive when many other businesses, they get driven out of businesses.
Absolutely. I mean, so I was very fortunate. Like I'm very transparent. I never finished college. I actually left college to open up my business.
You don't need, Paul. We know so many people that went to some of the highest ticket price schools, business schools.
Not to say that's bad, right?
Well, I'm not trying to say, but again, I know a multitude of people, and then 10 years after they spend, $500,000 between college and the business school, they're still soul searching. Many of them, they're still back living with their parents, trying to figure out what they would like to do in their lives. And I'm sure they envy, people like yourselves who at the age of, early age of your life, 18 years old in your case, you figured out this is what I'm passionate about. This is where I would like to spend the bulk of my life, really getting better, getting smarter, and passing along, the pearls of wisdom that I'm acquiring along the way. So they would love to be in your position. I'm positive.
I definitely was driven by passion, and everything, all the businesses that I'm involved in, I ask myself, questions. All right, is it aligned with my worthy ideal, right? Which means it's like my legacy, my why. And I formulated kind of a geeky statement, right? My worthy ideal is to lead, teach, and inspire future leaders, business owners, and professionals to reach their personal full potential in all areas of their life, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and professionally, so they can achieve multidimensional success and live a healthy, vital life of happiness, passion, and purpose. That's why I do what I do. So I say, is this venture aligned with my worthy ideal? Yes or no? Is it aligned with my core 4 areas of life? Yes or no? Am I physically able to attain this? Yes or no? Am I willing? Am I willing to make certain sacrifices to hit that goal? I'm very grateful, whether it's the martial art organization, Empowered Mastery, even my health coaching that I do, is all very driven by passion, right? So I love what I do. Like I don't even work. That's how I view it, right? I don't go to work. Like the things that I do just
You
come
pursue your
natural,
passion. You
and
pursue
I
your
pursue my
passion.
passion.
And it
That's
shows so clearly, Paul, that
very
people like
clear.
yourself, within 30 seconds, you can immediately tell that, hey, this is such a passionate man. This is the man driven by his passion, by his goal. And it really gets across so fast. And that's, I guess, it's one of many, many reasons why you are so much more successful than many of your peers who would love to get to your level.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So that's always been my driving force is to Tony Robbins was one of my original mentors in personal growth. He would say, live life, live with passion, right? So
Yeah.
he was a big influence in my life. I
So
did
true.
work with
So
T.
true.
Harv Eker, Bob Proctor. We got certified as one of his life success consultants.
I
You
love
name
Bob
it.
Proctor. Yeah, I mean,
He
he's
is.
one of
Strategic
the
coach.
gurus. I'm one of his huge devotees. Yeah.
Yeah, we spent all the money and pretty much everyone or anyone that was in that space, and ultimately, I guess what you were asking is, what's next is I I believe my martial art organization, who now I have my brother's my partner in our real estate and in a couple of those businesses. I'm slowly now, this has always been my exit strategy, is the people that manage and run those martial arts schools, is that we're selling them the businesses, we're keeping the property, right? So we have an exit strategy for them to now have their dream as an entrepreneur, like I had that dream when I was 21, and they're going to get to use our model if they choose, if or not, and now we have an exit strategy for them to buy in. We're slowly exiting out. We maintain the property. They pay rent. And so now I'm slowly exiting out of my martial art organization, and I'm overseeing it,
Right.
and let them own and manage their businesses. And I've been now integrating more of my time into the Empowered Mastery coaching, the consulting, which I love to do. Not that I don't love teaching martial arts. I just believe that the younger generation of instructors I think that it's time for them to operate, right? So like me and my partner, Chris, we oversee our martial art organization, but now I'm working more on speaking engagements, coaching. And then my wife and I also started a health coaching business where we help people learn about healthier habits to lose weight, to have more longevity, energy, so on and so forth. So that's kind of like my plan, which I'm doing, and teeing myself up to slowly like semi-retire from the martial art businesses and spearhead along the coaching, consulting. Our kids are still, they're going to be 13 and 15 like this weekend. And I want to be able to make sure that the last couple of years I have before they start becoming into adulthood, that I'm going to make sure that area of my life, my family time, is really honed in on, right? So
that's remarkable because, by the time they get the driver's licenses at the age of 16, they come back when they need money for gas and a new car.
Actually, my daughter works at one of our martial arts schools. So
oh, she does.
Part-time, yeah.
That's
So
excellent.
she's a
That's
great
again
woman.
yet another reason to be so proud of again, what you have done. It's fascinating. I find it remarkable, Paul, that you're not holding on to the businesses like martial arts centers, as you pointed. You see the reason of letting them go. Transfer, so to speak, your wisdom and the wealth and expertise to the younger generation. A lot of people, they just become so possessive. I mean, they're just not willing to exit the business in spite of anything. Obviously, I'm in complete agreement with yourself and your partners that your time is so much better spent on really cultivating and developing and taking to the next level empowered mastery, which is a business in such an incredible demand where you can expand nationally or potentially internationally. As you know, a lot of corporations from all across the world, they are looking for great business coaches and advisors. And I'm sure that that's where your time and knowledge and wisdom are going to be applied to so much better extent. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm moving in, because I've already replicated and duplicated our martial art business model. Like, I don't need to be there. You know what I mean? It's running. If a business is not duplicatable or replicatable, it's not a business. You have a glorified job.
Have you thought about franchising it at all, Paul?
You know what? We did do it a long time ago, but we backed away from that model. We spent a lot of money.
It's a very expensive proposition. Yeah, one of the biggest shows that I've been attending over many years has been the number one show in the world, which is the Javits Center, that annual franchise show. And by just speaking with so many people, not necessarily the presenters, but attendees, I found that this is a very expensive proposition. A lot of companies don't realize that. It sounds very appealing. It sounds very glitzy. Let's franchise it. I mean, the money is going to be falling, out of nowhere, on your lap. All they have to do is just keep counting, but they don't realize the levels they need to go through as far as compliance and expenses, as you pointed out. It's a very expensive proposition.
We went through the whole UFOC and got all that going. It just wasn't for us. It wasn't the ideal model at the time.
Totally agree in that respect. Yeah. Again, not to discourage our viewers from ever trying to go franchising. Hopefully, they will have all the success in that direction. But again, unfortunately, a lot of people they jump into franchising their business without realizing, all the levels of all the hurdles they have to go through, and without getting proper advice. The people who specialize in that specific line of business. So good for you. You made a decision. Yeah, you cut your losses at some point before. Yeah.
And the real estate piece for us and the exit strategy to give those, the people that work for us have been students of ours since they were like 5, 6, 7 years old. Now they're in their 20s and 30s, right?
So they're grown-up people. They're ready to step into your shoes, and provided they can afford,
putting to pass down that legacy, right?
Putting the down payment, whatever the business, plan they have, as far as taking over the businesses, those locations, that then hopefully it's going to work out for their benefits, and it's going to free up a lot more time for yourself to focus on empowered mastery. That's fascinating. Well, I'm sure that
for this is to duplicate or create coaches underneath us that follow our process. And then obviously, create online subscriptions and stuff. That's how you replicate a model like this, right? So it's got to be, we figured it out in the martial art industry. So now how can you replicate this company to do, and it's, where it's not just my partner and I labor intensive, but to be on the phone or doing Zoom coaching, where it's replicating that. So
you're very familiar with
our plan, and we're building that out now.
You're very familiar with
our next steps, Gene.
No, that sounds fascinating, Paul. And again, I was just about to say that you're very familiar, obviously, with the copycat business term. I'm always saying, hey, I applaud Einstein. I'm not the next Einstein, but if I follow the footsteps of successful people, from Napoleon Hill and all the multiple, piece of advice that he has been distributing over years and decades, and listening to all the wonderful people who share their pearls of wisdom and the expertise with the people who are willing to embrace that advice, then I know that life is going to be so much better and much more fun. And what you have done is remarkable, Paul. And I applaud you, and I wish you and your companies, in plural, every bit of success. I'm sure that some of our audience, either on this YouTube channel or podcast, because as you know, we're distributed on all the podcast platforms out there, they would love to get in touch with you. We're going to post the information, but just before we wrap up today's episode, just a couple of contact information, pieces that you would like to share with our audience your email, your websites?
Sure. Our website is empoweredmastery.com. That's our website. My personal email is P as in Paul, Melella, MELELLA, at empoweredmastery.com.
Excellent.
And then obviously we're on LinkedIn, and we're on Instagram under Empowered Mastery,
Yep.
and we're on Facebook. Most of my martial art clientele, where the avatar is on Facebook, most of my clientele for Empowered Mastery is on LinkedIn, right? So it's two different avatars, two different demographic clients, right? But yeah, we're very approachable. My partner and I have a very great relationship. That's why we have like Darth Vader and Master Yoda. Right, we're complete opposites, but have the same vision. We've been best friends, since 1983. He is completely different than I am. Like his approach and my approach are completely different, but we get our clients to this similar
But that's
destination.
the whole purpose of business, relationship and partnership. You really supplement each other, as opposed to
Right.
sharing the same views, the same beliefs, the same sets of skills, and fighting over whose idea is going to be implemented. History proved multiple times over years and decades, those kind of business relationships, they're not really very efficient, they're not very healthy, and they rarely, if at any point, they'll lead to any meaningful success. So obviously
I'm very grateful for our friendship and partnership. We travel together. We just came back from Park City, Utah, with our families. We booked another trip to go to Charleston in a couple weeks. So I'm very grateful for that. Most businesses, they don't have good partnerships and friendships. We're blessed.
it's one of the blessings. It is so true, so true.
And we respect our unique abilities and strengths. We're actually, I don't know if have you ever done the Colby A Index? Kathy Colby, she created like that mode of operation.
Yes.
He's like he's a facilitator.
Yeah.
So we have teams that come in and we Colby their entire team, and we figure out how they can communicate effectively to be most productive. So Chris and I, my partner, we know exactly how each other operate, how to communicate. We play each other's strengths so we can maximize our time in our business model. And anything that we suck at, we delegate to a team member, right? Which I tell people, I suck at most things. I'm only good at like 2 things. But
that's all it takes. Well, we can be, it has been proved multiple times again over time. We can't be, neither should we aspire to be jacks of all trades. You need to be an expert in 1-2 things like you are, but what you do, you deliver at the highest level. And that's why the people, who see the value, I mean, they gravitate towards getting more and more of that on an ongoing basis. And they probably become your biggest advocates, introducing your businesses to their associates, their contact, their spheres of interest. Yeah.
I stopped doing everything a long time ago. That's what I've learned. I let go of my ego. I stopped being a control freak. And then that's when my businesses really took off.
Be humble. Yeah. I mean, as you said, look, I mean, discipline, and again, stay humble. I mean, that's one of the keys, not just in the martial arts, but in business life and life, generally speaking, either it's business life or personal life, stay humble. What we have done yesterday, that was yesterday. Let's talk about where we can get tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, and how we can help, bringing more value to those who are willing to listen to our advice.
Absolutely.
So true. Paul, you've been such an incredible guest. I wish we could stay longer. I know you have other engagements to attend. Thank you so very much. Again, pleasure having you on the channel. We'll be in touch. And to our audience, again, don't forget to please hit like. I hope and I'm positive that you're going to enjoy this wonderful interview with Paul Melella, and feel free to get in touch with him and his businesses if you're looking to benefit from his levels of expertise and services. All right. So until the next time, Gene Panasenko, Straight and Unfiltered. God bless.